Welcome to the Crystal Crawford Show. I'm Crystal Crawford, and I invite you to a deep exploration of the tools of access consciousness and a totally different way of being. Hey, welcome again to another episode of this anti-guru exposure to the tools of access consciousness. For those of you guys I don't know, I'm Crystal. I'm a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness. I'm a person. And this show I very cheekily called My Tools for Easy Money. Clickbait, yes. Yes, clickbait. Hi, Mike. And also true. You're going to notice that in the description of this show, there's a link to a class that I'm calling Moving from Angst to Ease with Money. If you're watching this in real time, you're invited. We're going to start again on Thursday. We've been going for 21 days already. We're going to do it again. And in offering this class, I started really looking at, like I do, how I live this. How do I live moving from angst to ease with money, and what effects does that have? And that's really where this topic came out. So this is not just clickbait. What I'm hopeful is that this conversation will empower you, inspire you, and give you some of the tools that you actually need to move from angst to ease. So if you watched my invitation to the class itself, I pulled a little section out of the reference materials, which is just this like big tome body of work from Access Consciousness that is like all the archived material from every single class they've ever done for years and years and years. And this section has always stuck out to me. I've had access to this material for like years, and I've read this section in the reference materials for years. The section itself is called Awareness with Money, but it never really hit home until recently when I spent a couple of months, to be honest with you, it's been a couple of years, really angst-filled with like all kinds of things. And honestly, until the pandemic and until we moved ourselves to Latin America, I had a good number of years where I just wasn't doing angst. I was doing ease. And then all of that changed, right? We moved countries. We added all these stressors that I really didn't acknowledge were going to be stressors. I didn't have that information, like just a bunch of stuff, right? And for the last 2 or 3 years, I was personally just in and out of every form of angst known to man. Now, I've added to the conversations recently that I'm also psychic, and this needs to be in your world as well, because you will pick up on all the energies around you. And when it comes to energetic contributions, Latin America happens to be very intense in the feelings and the thinking, but mostly feelings universe. So when we moved there, I did not also strengthen my ability with awareness necessarily until later. And so I really struggled because I was, for the most part, at the effect of a lot of the different things that I was aware of. And it just took what it took to get stronger. And so 2 years there, fast forward, we moved here to the United States about July of 2023. And for about a month, I had a lot of peace. And then we got back together. I mean, Andres came from Colombia and we were together. And so many different things converged, right? Like I paid off this big loan. He was now working. There was so much change again. And also there was this conclusion in my world that because I was back in my country, that it was going to be different, easier. It was just different. I was still aware. I am still aware. I had all of these different other energies running through my world. And so I continued to really be at the effect of all of that until about 5 weeks ago. And I've done what I'm about to tell you before. This is not a new thing for me to talk about, but it's fresh. And part of the reason I'm really glad that I can continue to contribute these conversations to you is because, number one, I'm not perfect and neither are you. Number two, you can turn your own ship around at any moment, regardless of how long you've been doing things or how old you are or whatever the fuck you think you should have together. It doesn't matter. And three, it's just like, this isn't about perfection. This is about the journey of consciousness, and consciousness is just inclusion. And you are included at every phase with everything and all of that stuff, okay? So circling back around to like the angst conversation, where Gary starts with this, he goes, why do you put your attention on the money you don't have? And he goes, well, that way you feel angst ridden, which means you feel alive. And where I see a lot of us getting trapped in any conversation about change, but especially around money, is it seems like the angst that we have around money is justified. It's real. I mean, you can so easily point to the numbers in your bank account or not in your bank account and go, see, it's proven. My angst is proven by that thing. And I've done it, so I get it. And I've used the numbers that are in or not in my bank account to determine if I'm valuable, determine if I'm worthy, like all this shit. But why do we do that? To feel alive. That's annoying. But here's a clearing for us. So how many of you have misidentified and misapplied that angst ridden? Like if you're angsty about everything, you're finally alive. And how many of you, I'll add to that, are using that energy as motivation to create? Now we're going to get into my tools for easy money here in a minute. Everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povids, and beyonds. And if you're new to that crazy statement, go to clearingwithcrystal.com. At the end of the page, you can watch a video. So here's the key though, the angst. So, okay, fine. The angst and anxiety and the worry and the stress is how you make yourself feel alive because it's dense and intense. But that is the 10% of you that where money escapes you. Money lives and only comes to you in the 990%. And what I want to go through with you here in this conversation are literally the 5 things, the 5 tools, the 5 things that I choose that every time I choose them, create money for me 100% of the time. Okay. Now I made a little slideshow for you. So the first thing I choose is I get demanding. Now I get a lot of questions around what it is to make a demand of yourself. If you have questions about this, you can go into my YouTube channel. I'm sure I've had full conversations about what it is to be demanding, but also in the shop, crystaljoycrawford.com/store, there's a class on making a demand of yourself. Making a demand of yourself is just like, no matter what the fuck it takes, I'm not living this stupid anymore. And most of us have to get ourselves into an inordinate amount of pain to be willing to be that demanding of ourselves. I am definitely one of those. What I'm really working on and choosing is creating a way of living that doesn't require that much energy output to have a change, right? Where I don't create myself into a black hole in order to have a change. I'm just living in the way that I really want to be living. But to change something, I employ the energy of demand. And it is literally just whatever the fuck it takes. Basically blinders on, whatever the fuck it takes. I'm having something different. Now, I had somebody in my workshop this past weekend in how to become money. And by the way, those are just going to be ongoing. So if you want to know if you can get into one of those workshops, you absolutely can. Just go to my website at /calendar, crystaljoycrawford.com/calendar and find one. But so these workshops are, I do them in 2 parts. So it's like 3 hours and 3 hours. And by the end of 3 hours with me, you know, you've pretty much heard me talk about using the tools in that workbook in a very demanding way. And if you are not naturally that way with yourself, you could feel tired at the end of that. Like, this sounds like work. It is. And so this sweet lady, she was like, well, I'll do this, but I want to do it with ease. And like, and I could tell that in her world, the way that I was describing the work that you do with yourself to change where you're functioning from was like a little much. I'm like, I'll do this if it's ease. And honestly, guys, you can go to a lot of other access consciousness facilitators that will talk way more about playing with the tools than I do. And here's what I know about this. I will do aggressive unhappiness if I don't do aggressive demand. And that's just me. And I don't know how you are. I don't know if you're as extreme as I am. I don't know you. You know you. But if you spend a big part of your day unhappy or stressed or worried or in some sort of angst, you are aggressive. Okay. And maybe it's pathetic. Maybe it's a different energy. I'm going to use pathetic and victim energies in the same. You can get offended if you want, but if it hits home, it's true. Somewhere we are all very, very powerful. And you have to start to look at how much power you're using to stay stuck, uninspired, whatever that energy is, bored, tired, and look at that's aggressive. And so to change it, you have to bring an equal amount of energy to change it. And that's why demand, and that's why I talk about demand so much, is because I am a stubborn, creative, powerful motherfucker. If I'm going to be miserable, I will be so fucking miserable, nobody can change it. In fact, I remember one time I was in a class with Dane here. You guys know Dane here? And it was a maestro class. I went to the first 3 ever maestro classes. And so in that class, he partners us up, and with our partner, usually with our partner, they ask us, what do you want to get out of this session? And we say, and they start working on us. And if you've ever seen Dane and the kind of work that he does, he works with the symphony of possibilities energies. And many, many times when you're working with those energies, your hands go up and you're changing things. Anyway, long story short, she's working on me, and Dane is walking around the room to try to contribute to people that are doing sessions. And so she raises her hand, and I don't know this at the time. I find out later because she asks about it in class. I have my eyes closed. She's raised her hand. Dane comes over, and basically, unbeknownst to me, she's saying to Dane, help, because I'm laying like a rock on the table. And this is me, right? Like if you're going to be wussy with me and you're not going to like contribute and be yourself and to contribute, fuck you. Like I am just aggressive with what I choose. So not everybody's like me. Anyway, Dane said, stop trying to be nice with her and contribute the energy of Crystal's a bitch. Crystal's a bitch. And I just got happy within like 3 minutes, and none of this happened with words. Within 3 minutes, I was happy. I was light again. So you got to do what works with you. And if you're not getting a difference out of you, if you're not choosing something different, you are not being demanding enough with you. So this is one of my first tools to easy money. And I'm telling you, if I choose this with myself, money follows within 24 hours. Okay. The next thing I am is fruit picking. Now, this is essential to easy money. This has to do with looking into your world for the things you could do or put your hand to tomorrow if you were going today. The things you could walk out of the house or call somebody up and do today if you were going to be homeless tomorrow. Basically, like these are the things. Low-hanging fruit is the stuff that's just right there. I'll give you an example in real time. Andres right now is workshopping where he's going to work next. So like jobs do, this one is changing. So we were looking at what is his next move. Ultimately, he wants to be in business for himself, but that's going to take a little nurturing to accomplish. So we looked last night. I said, what's your low-hanging fruit? He's got all these people that are connecting with him right now that want these vehicles that he doesn't have. But if he could get connected to a larger network of vehicles and meet their need, say through multiple dealerships, he would be able to be, hi Suzanne, a personal car shopper. And I don't know how many of you have gone through the car buying experience, but here in the United States, it's fucking stressful. And it's such a process. And honestly, like we are right now renting a car monthly, which by the way, I'm so grateful for. And we might keep doing that forever. I don't know. I'm really playing with the finances of it all right now, but we're renting a car monthly, and I've been looking at what else is possible. Was there ideas that are more fun than this and blah, blah. It's a process. I literally said to him, if I could find somebody to do this process for me and let me give them my parameters and they go out and they find me a couple of choices at a couple of places at rates that I like, I would pay that person. Like, yes, shop for me. I don't want to. And in truth, anybody who has the funds or anything to buy a car in the way that I can't is like very likely going to feel the same. Like car shopping is ridiculous. So I said, what's your low hanging fruit? All these people that need cars. I was like, well, cool. And it was light. Here's the other thing about low hanging fruit. It's almost always light because it's just true. It's right there. It's yours. And low hanging fruit possibilities come from your willingness to look at, what am I so good at that I'm not looking at? Like, what could I literally contribute to somebody right now? And that can be anything from, like, in my case, I'm very good at all the digital things. So that could be, I could put together a website special. I could put together branding things. I could put together very, how do I say this? Tangible, physical delivery of services that have nothing to do with facilitation. But because I'm also a facilitator, I could put together specials on my facilitation. I could run bars. I could literally kind of walk up and down the hallways here. If the internet went out and all we had was our bodies, I could go door to door and go, look, I do this thing called bars. Is anybody in this house stressed and want to try it or whatever? So, but that, yeah, car shopping is up there with jeans shopping. It's the worst. And swimsuit shopping. Seriously? No. Just stop. Right? Like, who is going to do this for me? Okay. So you want to go fruit picking. After you've made a demand of yourself that this shit stops today, start making some lists of things that are just low hanging fruit. What would it take to pull in money in the next 24 hours? That's where you want to function from. Okay. Here's the next thing for easy money. And then start engaging. Engage like a woman on crack. And if you're a man, engage like a man on crack. I don't know why crack has anything to do with this except for the visual. You want to go crazy engaging. Now, I don't just mean on social media, but if you have already built a social media following, get the fuck out there every single day, 5 times a day. Get your face out in the world. Call your people. Knock on doors. Get out of the house and start engaging. Engagement is what generates money. Now, to get to the engagement, you see how you would have to make a demand of yourself to get to that, right? You have to get demanding of yourself. You got to look at what you're going to put your hand to, and then you got to start engaging around that thing. All right, this is the key to money showing up quickly. And this is true. I was listening to this podcast. I'm into this new podcast called The Money Guys. You're going to listen, after you listen to like 3 or 4 of them, you're going to hear their message on repeat. They're really basically talking about the same thing all the time on all their shows, which I think is brilliant because the thing they're talking about is really going to contribute financial, I'm going to call it financial stability, but it's going to put you in a robust financial place. Okay. And so now I've listened to 4 or 5 of their shows. I'm starting to implement some of the stuff that really works for me. Where was I going with this? Oh no, I lost my point. Well, this engaging thing. Anyway, but hopefully my point will come back around. Go check out that podcast. I really love it. I guess it's sort of very classic advice, but one of the things they do is they start looking at everything from every angle. Oh, I know what they were talking about. In one of the episodes, they were talking about if they had to go out of the house tomorrow and start a business, what they would choose. And one of the guys said, well, I would just buy a pressure washer and like drive myself or rent a pressure washer from here. You can do that at Home Depot or Lowe's. And I would drive into some of the more well-to-do neighborhoods and just knock on doors. I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. If everything went to shit, I would do the same thing. I would find some, and the other guy said, well, I would actually start a car washing business in those same neighborhoods and go, hey, I'll wash your car for you once a week and I'll come to you. So again, taking the burden off of that person to go get their car washed, you would instantaneously have a business, right? But it would just require of you going, fuck, this changes today. What can I put my hand to? And engaging. And then boom, you're in business. So easy, fast money that has nothing to do with growing a brand or any of that other shit that if you do it that way takes a long time. All right. Here is something that I don't know if I've talked about in this way before that I absolutely do. I do a lot of nope. Not doing that. Nope, not doing that. So I'm calling it noping. All right. Nope, we're not doing that. Now, I looked at the ways I could talk about this. And one of the ways I wanted to talk about it is like I go into blinders on. I put my blinders on. And then I was like, well, it isn't really that. And then I could say, well, I just receive everything and choose. It is that. But the way I want to describe it is nope, We're not doing that, because that is literally, you know, that demanding thing I talked about where you got to get demanding of yourself. I get really demanding with what I then allow in my space, my psychic space. And I'm going to explain what I mean by this, because there's a few different ways to look at this. I get really demanding about what I allow as my psychic space. That's probably more the point. And I really consciously cultivate what I am putting my attention on. And this is what I'm calling noping. It's a little broader than that topic allows, but what I mean is I do not allow, when it's time for the ship to turn around, for things to change, for money to show up, for my life to work, I do not allow anything to take me offline. What I mean by that is, if you study the How to Become Money workbook, what you start to discover is that the truth of you as a being is that you are power, you are awareness, you are control, you are creativity, and you are money. And that's not going to make any sense to you if you don't know what that workbook is. So please go get it, join another class, go to my website and find one. But you are these things. And when you've got any other energy going on, any other energy, fear, stress, worry, anxiety, any of that shit that we do, all the angst energies, right? You are not being you, and you cannot create a flow of money. And if we circle back around to the very beginning of this episode, where I pulled in that little section from the reference material where money escapes you when you're doing the 10%, which is like all those other shits. Money comes to you in the 990%, where you're being demanding, you're going for it, you've picked your fruit and you're engaging, and you're nothing is distracting me. Nothing, not even me, is distracting me from what I'm choosing and where I'm going. So I do a lot of noping, to the point that I do this with Andres as well. Because what I'm starting to learn about being in a relationship, and because there was a lot of years that I wasn't in one, and there's also been a lot of years where I've just looked at relationship as sort of the thing to get away from, I'll be honest with you. It's very recent that I really committed to the relationship that I'm in. Like, really, I'm in it. We're in it. Let's do it. And that's probably a whole other episode, because what shifted around that was, I'm like, okay, I'm in it. So what that is that now we've got, it's the fluctuations in the energy temperature that are contributed by another person, because people contribute whatever it is they're choosing and being at the time, right, are no longer a source for rejection. They're just fluctuations. And so what I was doing before was allowing those fluctuations to affect me, which is what I needed to get away from. But when I changed my position and I was like, no, I'm here, I realized I can't live affected by my own or anyone else's fluctuations in energy. All that stuff that you're perceiving that is going on, you're correct, you are perceiving it. If you let yourself be at the effect of it, fucks you up. But if you get psychically stronger and recognize that there's fluctuations, but nope, we're not going into that fluctuation to see why they're right, to see what's going on, to inspect it, to find out why and all that stuff. We're not doing that. We are going forward into creating our life no matter what the fuck it takes. That's when money shows up. So I do a lot of noping. And in a relationship, what that really, I've had very direct conversations with him that go, because, you know, when you start to be demanding for yourself and you've got people in your life, people are going to be like, whoa, you're going to rattle and wobble people just by your sheer power of what you're choosing and where you're going. So I've had to have very direct conversations too, going, I'm not doing that. I'm going here. So if you need me, I'm here. You have to ask for something, but I can't go down in that with you. I'm here. I'm happy. I'm creating. That's that. So this is something that I do a lot of when I am going and turning the ship around and I'm having something different. So it's one of the best tools for easy money. And I would say partnered with this is really, you've got to probably have in your world some sort of, I'm going to say reference point or starting point for functioning different with money, meaning what I'm choosing in that nope is my reality. I am power, I am money, I am awareness, I am creativity, I am control. And I didn't have access to that before these tools. So you also really at the same time need to be contributing to yourself the energy that you are choosing. And I didn't really include that in a slide because that's really, I do a lot of noping and I do a lot of yesing, meaning I am choosing what I'm being and it's not that, it's this. So that's what noping is. And honestly, the rest is just rinse, wash, and repeating. So back to the demanding and really guys, once you start engaging in these steps, order of operations, if you will, it starts to just become how you function. It doesn't really, in the beginning, it's sort of steps because you're navigating and changing the way you function. What destroys how money shows up in your world is literally all the different things that you let take you offline and create angst in your world. And what I'm really determined to keep living in front of you and leading in is living clear and strong in the direction that I'm going. No matter who's around, no matter who has an opinion, no matter who has feelings, including me. And not to the exclusion of ups and downs or to bypass or any of that other shit that people use to make you wrong, but for the choice that I have for a different reality. You have choices for something different. Now you're going to have to discover how you access them. And I'll tell you this key right here, how do I point? That was the hardest thing I've done all day. This right here is your key. You go, whatever it fucking takes, I'm having something different. And then go after educating yourself and instilling into your world a new energy. My two favorite classes and tools for this right now are the How to Become Money Workbook and this series that I've been doing every day for 21 days called Moving from Angst to Ease with Money. They're different. One is a 2-part workshop and one is a 21-day series. And what I love about these series is you can have that energy in your world every day for 21 days. And they say you do something for 21 days and you create a habit. So what we're doing in those 21 days is every morning we're clearing out the shit, instilling and bringing up the energy of money in our world, and then just everybody's free to ask questions. We're just literally together almost 30 minutes a day. It's kind of a steal. It's $97 for that. So those are the two things that I'm doing right now that I think you should check out. My next Moving from Angst to Ease with Money starts Thursday. Very quick, right? You just have to jump. Don't think, just jump. And that's that. That's literally that. So if you have a friend that has been struggling with the money thing, share this with them. Like this, comment, make sure this is seen. And I will see you in the next conversation. I'll see you in class. How does it get better than us in the world? Fuck yeah, poverty can't survive. All right. I'll see you soon.